Good morning, everybody. Uh, I hope everyone enjoyed the first session with Catherine and Tony. I appreciate the introduction to the event and especially the end of it, which sort of sets up what we're going to be talking about, which is the services, the processes that are being bundled that will be offered as part of mobility for our customers through our dealerships. And I really appreciate the chance. Thank you, Catherine Work Truck Solutions, for letting us share some thoughts. These are great sessions because not only do we learn, but I think that the process of preparing the panelists get quite a bit out of it. So thank you for that. And by the way, Catherine, you're noted that you're from Northern California. In your mind, the real California. I'm from Southern California, the old California. Just so we know where we're from. So we have a great panel today. This is going to be outstanding. The theme of our panel, which is part of the reciprocity of the entire program, is what we want for our dealers and what we want from the dealers, the reciprocity, what we'll give the dealers, what they need to have, and what they need to do, and what they need to give to the customers in return. And we've got a panel of experts that will be in excellent position to comment on this particular topic. First of all, we're really honored and pleased to have Jennifer Costabile. Jennifer is the General Director of Marketing Sales Enablement for GM Evolve, but she's had a tremendous 40-year career. She must have started right as an intern out of grammar school at General Motors, serving in virtually every function, which is what General Motors does, is that they develop people from the beginning, and that's how the culture of that company continues. And of course, being at GM and Evolve, she's been in an IC business before. It was Buick. But this way, she's on the leading edge of what is a trend and is bringing us a lot of new technology. So we welcome Jennifer and thank you for joining us. Kirk Mann, who is the EVP and the head of transportation for Mitsubishi HC Capital. He's on the other side of the coin. A lot of people think that dealers or salespeople sell vehicles. They don't. They can sell the customer on the brand or the model. The finance department, the financing process is what sells the vehicle. It makes the funds available for them to actually purchase it 9 times out of 10. And Kirk has been with a number of institutions working on the commercial side and is expert among experts when it comes to vehicle financing for commercial products. And then we've got Mark Hazel, who's the Associate Director of Commercial Vehicle Reporting for S&P Global Mobility. And he's a long-term associate, a company that goes back to the very big recording sales for the industry and is the source of data that is the basis of so many decisions that are made in forecasts. So we appreciate all three of you. And that this is an important time for us to talk about what we want for the dealers and from them because of the transformation that's occurring in our industry. The number of business models that are emerging that will allow us to contend with the changes that we see of introducing new powertrains, new vehicle manufacturers coming online. The level of competition is increasing. Cost pressures are significant. There's a lot of attention being given to the distribution channel. Some of the new manufacturers coming are not using the traditional dealer portals. Some are, and of course, we'd like to have Jennifer talk about this, because I think that her Chevrolet, her new Chevrolet, her division of Chevrolet Bright Drop is using a bit of a hybrid, which seems to make a lot of sense. And so as we go through this time and we see these ownership models that are emerging, they're bundling the ecosystem of services, the ownership models, the hardware. It all comes down to this concept of anything as a service, which is SaaS, XaaS. I'm just learning SaaS, which is part of it, but now anything as a service. Where vehicles, the truck is a service, transportation, mobility is a service, charging is a service, power is a service, battery is a service. All of these are services. And the forecast is that I saw from McKinsey that in 2030, about 60% of the profit generated from commercial vehicles will not be from the sale of the product, but from these bundled services as well. And so as we think about the emerging into a new reality of these bundled services and mobility is what it really boils down to. What we like to do is talk about what we expect for our dealers and what we expect from them. So if we could start, I'd like to start with Jennifer, if I could, if it would be possible for you to give us your perspective on your relationship with the dealers and how you're telling them or guiding them or supporting them to move into this era of mobility versus transaction of just selling a product.
Right, sure. Thank you, Jim. Well, I would say that we've started this journey ourselves at General Motors. We had quite a few different business units across GM calling on customers, whether they were selling them telematics with OnStar, or selling them parts and service with our customer care and after sales, or GM Financial with different finance plans, and then of course our own when we were at GM Fleet, our own account executives that were actually selling the vehicles themselves. And we did a lot of research with our customers, and our customers told us, it's getting really difficult to do business with you at General Motors, right? We have too many people calling on us. It's not simple. I don't know how all these products and services interact with each other. So we made a real decision to change the way we were doing business with customers. And we changed our business model so that we would have our account executives with GM involved be kind of the tip of the spear for the customer. So the customer had one person to go to who could really help them assess what their needs were, and then bring subject matter experts into the conversation so that we could really address the customer's total needs rather than just the vehicle. And then afterwards you brought in somebody else, and afterwards you brought in somebody else. And what we found is that we're actually having much better conversations with customers about their complete needs rather than siloed needs. And I think the customers have really felt this is a really good approach for them, because they can see kind of the whole life cycle of what they need to do and what we have to offer them to manage their business. Again, we know our customers, the vehicle is just a tool for them to get their business done. So we want to make sure that we're helpful all along their customer journey. So now it's really time to take that model to the dealer level. And if you look at a dealership itself is based upon that whole model. But what we'd like to do is get our dealers to start to look at having that tip of the spear as an account person at their dealership to really help their customers with the complete life cycle as well. So they help them discover and assess what their needs are at the beginning. They purchase a vehicle. They help them onboard whatever services they might be, whether it's connected services or OnStar, telematics, or again, if they're electric vehicles, help them with their charging infrastructure and making sure that their drivers know how to use these vehicles. Again, that training piece of making sure that with these changing vehicles that the dealers are really interacting with customers. A delivery is really different with an EV now than it is with an ICE vehicle. That's completely changed. And then also really kind of keeping that ownership model going, making sure that we're constantly talking to the customer about their service needs again, using data and insights from the vehicle that we now know we have to help them plan for maintenance and service so their vehicles don't go down. We all know our customers' biggest threat is downtime. So again, it's really getting our dealerships to start to look at the complete life cycle of the customer and address it from a dealership single point of contact perspective, so that the customer always has a go-to person. They always know that whether it's, Mrs. Smith or, Mr. Taylor, always has a contact at the dealership that can support them through their ownership experience.
That's obviously the journey we have to take. Have you criteria for selecting the dealers to accomplish this, or have you found what's the best way to help them enter that new process, as opposed to looking at a single transaction and the way they're used to on the retail side?
We actually have what we consider our commercially focused dealers, which are our business elite dealers with Chevrolet and GMC, and they are going on this journey along with us. We've had a lot of learnings through, dealing with our larger fleet customers, but the more information that we give them on, again, really looking at the life cycle and being able to help them identify customers' needs throughout that life cycle, it's really kind of training, informing, and showing them a different model of really how to best handle customers. That's really who we're focusing on, is our commercially focused dealers, because they're going to have the bandwidth to do this pretty quickly. And also they have some really great knowledge about their own customer base. Some dealers were well ahead of us and during, for this journey. So we've learned from our dealers as well. We've got very, very strong commercially focused dealers. And again, I think they're starting to see the value of, hey, it's not just the vehicle anymore, it's the complete life cycle. And if we can get them back in for service, and if we understand how they're cycling their vehicles, we can continue that lifelong relationship with them.
That's the entry to mobility, which will eventually, I think, run the entire dealership. So, Kirk, I'd like to ask you, in parallel, in supporting what Jennifer just described as a redirection and a new journey for dealers, that would include how they're looking at getting vehicles financed, and any new products or new methods of financing that you may have, that you're introducing, that will go parallel with what Jennifer is trying to achieve in her dealerships.
Sure, Jim. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will echo Jennifer on the qualitative research that she and her team did there. We did the same thing about 4 years ago, and we continually ping our dealers. We have focus groups. We're having another one here in the next couple of weeks, where I think we're going to play some golf while we do it. But we are having two separate sessions, focus sessions, that are geared towards listening to our dealers and their needs and what it is they expect from us going forward. But 4 years ago, we did a survey, and it was specific to EV and mobility issues. And what we were hearing 4 years ago from our dealers was that they needed help thinking about this, and they certainly needed the financial offerings that would help them and their customers acquire the truck and do it as easily as possible. So we started a process of developing products at that time. I joke about this, and I've joked about this before on one of these firesides, is that no one has ever asked me to finance the truck and the gas station. And that is exactly what is sort of being asked of us today, and that is the truck, the EV truck, and the charging solution that comes with it. Well, it's not just the charging equipment. It comes with consultation on site, at the dealer site. How much power can the dealer pull down? And then it comes with construction consultation, and then the construction itself, and the placement of the equipment to charge the trucks. And so all of that we sort of bundled into one offering with a particular partner, where the dealer can grab those consultants for power, those consultants for construction, and certainly the equipment from a certain manufacturer. And so we have been in that mindset for quite some time now, and we are continually talking to partners, thinking about new ways of doing things. We really want to create an easy button for every single dealer and situation that exists. So yes, and I think when it comes to mobility, and you think about mobility, and you think about providing services to the end user, the user of that equipment, you really have to think about more than just the asset. There are a lot of fleet services, fleet management companies out there that do a pretty good job with the asset. But the key for all of us, I think, going forward, making this really easy for the end user, is providing additional services that are relevant to that end user's business. And so there are that is hard to do day one, but it's something we can build. And so when you think about the asset itself, so the battery, can we do a subscription on the battery as opposed to just financing the truck? Do a subscription on the battery, monitor the state of health of that battery, and then pull that battery out at the optimum time for its value, and at the same time, economic value in replacing it with a new battery. So those are things that we're working on, but it goes beyond just the asset. It goes into actual services for the landscaper, the plumber, the electrician, the folks that are doing work. And if you're talking about parcel delivery, route optimization is fantastic. If they're plugged into Amazon, they're using Amazon's system. If they're not, then they probably could use the help. So there are software programs and connected services that we can push into those environments and really serve the customer very, very well beyond the asset.
Brings to mind the opportunity, if you're so disposed, to start helping them finance their business. I mean, if you're in commercial vehicles, but your organization makes loans for business operations, and there may be a way to integrate, because one of the things in hearing what Jennifer's trying to achieve, it seems to me that a key to the future is going to be working together with the OEMs and with the value chain at an earlier stage to build products coming forward, financial products. And of course, they have their own financial sources, but you're an alternative and an important one. And it seems like that kind of cooperation early would be very helpful.
Yeah, that word reciprocity doesn't necessarily have to carry with it the idea of quid pro quo. I give you something, you give me something, and they're equal. I think it's more so sort of working towards something for the greater good in a mutual way. And obviously, if we're all working towards building something that is fantastic for everyone, and what we want, I mean, think about current state and future state, what we want for our dealer customers is continued success and profitability, right? Mm-hmm. And because we know that if our dealer customer is successful and profitable, that we will be too. We know we will be, because we'll serve into that market. So I think that working mutually towards something is important, and the way that we do that is to keep the lines of communication wide open, and that's how we get there.
And it includes the upfitters. I mean, it's really one value chain.
Absolutely, that's right. That's right. The whole supply chain.
In that regard, Mark, I have a question from a standpoint of the projected growth of commercial vehicles, and I know that your department looks at the trends, but also actual sales as opposed to forecasts. But from what you see right now in the commercial vehicle versus the total industry growth rate, are you seeing a higher growth for commercial vehicles? and a higher growth for alternative technology vehicles or EVs in the commercial space. Uh-oh. Mark? Oh, we can't lose Mark. We need him to keep score. Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry about that. My connection just went out.
Okay.
But no, so Jim, your question was surrounding just the growth in general of what we're seeing in EV.
Well, in commercial, total commercial, and then specifically EV as a subset.
Yep. So overall, in commercial, like when you go back to like what happened in the pandemic, prior to 2020, we were sitting at about just commercially, we would have about 3.4 million vehicles per year registered. So these are our new vehicle registrations. It's the first time we see that VIN, and it's going off to a fleet. And so that fell to about 2.5 million vehicles, during the height of COVID. Obviously, we all know why. We couldn't get vehicles fast enough. We had all the issues with the supply chain and so on. We're pretty much back to, pre-pandemic levels for the most part now. So, we're seeing, pickups and cargo vans are really the only vehicle type that hasn't gone back to those pre-COVID numbers. And so like you look at, and like as you continue to drill down, you notice, cargo vans. We had that massive run, prior to 2020, and then into 2020 on last mile delivery. It's like we've actually kind of seen that cool off a little bit. And then when you look at pickups, you look at the lease rental industry, and you look at everything that goes on with that. And, kind of the same thing, that we're seeing, with that as well. But then when you flip the script a little bit and you talked about EVs, so what we've seen with EVs is yes, high level, that number's still small. It's still, 1%, less than that, of the entire, vehicles in operation, population that you see. But the growth that we're seeing is unreal. From 2022 to 2023, it was like 108% increase in commercial. Now you're talking pickups and you're talking cargo vans again. And then if you look at just through 8 months of 24, we've already surpassed 2023 registrations, from an EV. So, I think that what's really cool about that is just, you are seeing the growth. You had the Lightning, now the Silverado is launched. From a cargo van, you've always had the Transit. You've got the Rivian now. So the growth is definitely there, obviously with the reasons that everyone has already pointed out. It's just not as fast as it would be.
A geographic skew to the growth of EV?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you do see, if you were to put everything up on a heat map of the United States, you would see all of those CARB states. So, going down the West Coast, you'd see that heavy concentration, especially in California. But, we are seeing other states as well, some just because the geography, they're more densely populated, which makes sense. There's more charging infrastructure around and things like that. But we are seeing it, outside of just CARB states too.
It's interesting, and that's going to continue. Obviously, do you all follow the availability of charging, the infrastructure, or is it just the vehicle? Because you don't get that from the DMVs, but S&P Global may have some.
We do have some information on charging. You're right, that kind of falls outside of my realm since we're not, directly in the registrations anymore. But we do have some information there. It's nothing that I have off the top of my head.
It'd be interesting because it's we should start reporting on that as we develop the EV industry, rate of growth of charging capacity.
Yep.
And by region. because that is one of the issues, and it will allow us to forecast when there will be more adoption. Well, and now, Jennifer, if I could come back to you and ask you, now that you're in business as Chevrolet BrightDrop, what is the response that you've had from the customers and from the dealers? What are the issues that you have that you're trying to work through, or what is the sort of reception of the customers that have been using electric vehicles for a while as they consider what their next product's going to be?
Okay, well, a couple different, I'll break that down a little bit. The Chevrolet BrightDrop has been very well received. And I'll tell you why. Because before, customers saw BrightDrop as more of a startup. And, I think our customers really, they like security, and they like the sense of safety amongst a dealer network. And when you have a nationwide Chevrolet dealer network of over 3,000 plus dealers that are going to be able to service these vehicles, it gives a level of comfort and confidence to customers to try something new. With the BrightDrop van, although it was designed initially for, kind of that last mile delivery, customers that have bought and purchased these vehicles and are actively using them in their fleet, they cannot speak highly enough of the vehicle, because it's really all about the driver, the ergonomics of the vehicle itself, the ease of exit and entry, and how they're able to use and access the packages or whatever's in the back of the vehicle is really, it's just designed for the ease of use on their bodies. So again, I think the drivers really feel like, wow, this thing has been designed for me. Another really good thing about BrightDrop is that there's a phenomenal amount of safety features on the vehicle that I would say most of our competitors don't have, as well as the range. So the customers now that are using the BrightDrop think very highly of it, and I think they're going to continue to add them on into their fleet as they progress towards more electrified fleet. Our challenge really now is getting our Chevrolet dealer network trained up on the BrightDrop, the Chevrolet BrightDrop van. The target audience for these. I will tell you this, there's a tremendous amount of the services and utilities that would actually, normally buy a regular panel van, now have the ability from a price point and from a range point that they can actually start their electrification journey. So it's really getting the dealers to take these vehicles out to customers, have them drive it, because the drive is incredible. And then when they start to experience it and then they get into the back of the van, they can start to imagine what they can do with the possibilities of what they could do with that van for their business. So it really is, now it's just like, okay, let's get an awareness. Let's get these vehicles out there on the road, test drives, and getting our dealers trained up. So we feel very confident about the Chevrolet BrightDrop. It's a really an excellent product. We also have the Chevrolet Silverado EV work truck that has been, we led with Fleet First on that, which is very unusual for a division for Chevrolet to launch a Fleet First vehicle. But we know we've had a lot of pull signals from our customers that have, they've got some pretty big sustainability goals that they have to meet themselves. So the Silverado EV was pulled to Fleet First, and we have really positive responses from our customers that have already started their purchasing Silverado EV work trucks. They really like the truck. It has this, they call it, it's better than a truck. It's quieter. It gets great range. Has all the capabilities of a Silverado ICE vehicle. So again, they don't feel like they've compromised at all on the switch, which is, it starts to build that confidence of, yeah, I got this. And so we really feel very, very excited about the Silverado EV work truck. We've just got a great Equinox EV that's going out in the market that we really feel a lot of customers that are more, like maybe insurance adjusters or salespeople will want to start to drive that vehicle because the price point's great and it has the exact same capabilities of the Equinox. And then I'll just put a push out for our government dealers that are out there. We have a Blazer EV PPV. which our police departments are really starting to adopt. It's the only vehicle that's been certified as a pursuit vehicle by the Michigan State Police Testing. So we've got its full range, and all the way up to the Cadillac Lyric. And and again, I would say there's no other OEM out there that has the range, and that's kind of what General Motors has always been, is that we've got dealers that can offer the broadest portfolio for what a customer needs. So we really feel like we're on a great journey with EVs, and we've got something for a little bit for everyone right now.
Well, and I sure applaud your approach on the Silverado. One of the problems with the Lightning introduction in my mind was that they made it look like it was the cure-all for all people that had pickups. So people that were hauling boats and horses and recreational use don't find that it fits, but it fits perfectly as a fleet, as an EV product. And the other thing you mentioned, the EV product reviews always show great response. They love the fact that they don't have to go to a gas station, that they have the maintenance, that they're quiet, and that more than that, they're purpose built for what the product is. And if you look at the future of vehicles, more and more commercial vehicles, customers want customization. They want a vehicle that fits their needs in particular. They don't want to use a Swiss Army knife. They want to use a product that fits what they have as a requirement. And I think the EV lends itself to that, and Bright Drop shows that in spades.
Thank you.
The other question I have for, if I could, for Kirk, when it comes to the financing aspect of this new commercial world, do you have information on whether it's going to be more profitable, less profitable? Do you see that, because basically you're financing usage instead of hardware. And when you finance usage or services, will you as a financial institution be able to maintain your margins the same way, because you don't have a residual value component? It's more like leasing. So have you compared what the future is going to be for your profitability and the profitability for dealers of selling finance and insurance?
Yeah, Jim, I think to sort of give you a little bit of an analogy, today dealers enjoy absorption from services, parts and services that pays for a large portion of their infrastructure expense. And as EVs come along, that absorption is going to shift. It's going to get less. And so that's why it's so important. And we want our dealers to be thinking about the future and how they can sell more services and drive income from those services. Well, we're no different. We know that we're going to have to be financing services and participating in that process and making it easy for the customer in order for us to earn, an acceptable return, right? Money is money, and our cost of funds is what drives largely our profitability. But the usage-based process, which, by the way, I had a mentor in 1996. His name was John Conkin. He's since passed, but John was asking me about, coming up with a way to usage-based bill our customers, because when you're billing on the basis of usage, you're matching revenue with expense. So that makes perfect sense. And it will be a great service to customers if we can do it that way, if we can bill on the basis of usage. And we kind of do that with our FMV leasing, right? We peg a residual based on the mileage that the operator plans to go each year. And so you're sort of pegging revenue to expenses in that way. But usage-based takes it a step further. And certainly, it does change the model. But we know that as long as we are taking our lending platforms from being just a lender to being something more than a lender, which is, offering the F&V, certainly offering, rental rates, usage-based billing, offering everything and anything that the customer needs, that we'll be successful over on the whole. But yeah, the models of usage-based versus regular FMV versus just regular loans or track leases, it is different, but you can structure it in a way that works.
I think that's going to be important for the growth and development of this future mobility, is to figure out how to finance it, how you value it, and how you can get the folks in the treasury to let you put some money on the line, because they're not going to have a straight residual.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different ballgame.
It's a different ballgame, and it's a transition. Jennifer, in that regard, your relationship with the dealers, the Chevrolet dealers, is it different at all from the retail, from a standpoint of the process that occurs, and when you go, or how the omni-channel, and how much of the omni-channel process is your responsibility and your involvement with the dealer as a partner, as opposed to retail, where that may be more hands-off? I think you have more of a hybrid system of cooperating with your dealers on commercial.
I would say we have a really cooperative deal. Is say our Chevrolet and GMC Business Elite dealers, they know how to do this business, and they give us great suggestions on how we should help them advertise. We also give them co-op dollars so that they can go into market where they need to, because our dealers are really good about knowing what their marketplace is and what kind of vehicles they need. Again, dealers in New England sell a lot of different vehicles than they do say down in the South Central or in Texas. So we also have a commercial field team that works with our commercial departments at our Chevy and GMC dealerships. So they're there to help them identify segments that they might want to go after, get them trained up on the vehicles, and really kind of help them move and figure out what's the best way to go to market. So we really view it as a partnership, because we are kind of in this together. On the retail side, we've got 3,000 dealers at least at Chevy, that have, how they're going to go to market. From a commercial side, it really is much more about the relationships with our customers. So we really try to help our dealers have the tools and the sales enablement materials that they need to have those important conversations with customers. So I would say it's more of a one-on-one with our dealers and and their customers. We're just there to help, make sure they have what they need to have those great conversations.
That's important. And as it goes forward, when you have higher volume of production and maybe periods of less demand, it'll probably drive you towards different solutions that you don't have now, because you're still on the starting edge of your products. But we're not in the real world yet until you've got the pressure of wholesale, which we all know it's inevitable. Maybe that'll drive you to some different solutions. It's really that's what started leasing and F&I. And my thinking is that the commercial departments in the dealerships are about where F&I was 20 years ago, where it was some people, and they did, if you needed financing, if you needed some insurance, F&I or products, they'll get it for you. But today, it's a major source of revenue that allows us to sell vehicles in volume. And I think that commercial is going to be the same way in 5 years from now. with the
Yeah.
services that are included.
It kind of goes back to where you started, Jim, is that you talked about the bundles and about the things that, you build what the customer wants together. And, it could be different for each one. So it is kind of exciting because I do think there is a lot of personalization on different business needs that, again, we're all going to be able to offer, or I think we're going to be expected to offer customers.
Right. Well, so Mark, I've got a question for you. Actually, we've got a question that I got from an audience, and that is, from your standpoint, right now this is more short-term, and I'd like to give our audience a little bit, this is a nice discussion, and it's strategic, and it's a lot of it is future development, but I'd like to give them a few points that they could take today to make to make today work, to make this month, to make it short term, some ideas. By chance, Mark, one of the questions is, do you have any kind of insight into what may affect the industry at the post-election? Is there do you have any data, or have you all talked internally about what may happen after November with regard to the end of the year and the beginning of next year for commercial vehicles?
Yeah, so we have a few different scenarios out there right now from a forecasting standpoint. We always take the mentality that we continue along with the same forecast unless there actually is a change. But we do have a few different scenarios based out there that depends on, obviously what happens in the White House and not. That's not something that I can comment on. We could always bring in our forecasting experts and our economic experts to do that. But from that standpoint, yeah, that's not something that I can comment on.
Do you have any kind of a feeling for what if the strength of the market right now for commercial, because commercial is up more than retail?
Yes.
I believe. By what percent?
So
In
year
your
over
data?
year, commercial is up, in EV alone, it's up over 100%. Or retail, it's much smaller than that. But then overall, it's about 6 or 7%, that commercial is up, as well. So it's definitely growing, and I think, regardless of what happens in November with the White House, I think you're still going to see that growth, in the commercial space.
Okay, that's encouraging, and I think that allows us to feel comfortable to make these investments that need to be made to achieve the long-term changes that are necessary.
Yes.
So back to Kirk, if I could ask you, relating to more today, where our audience can take some notes of things that they could do to help this month, the end of this year, this quarter. What are you seeing trend wise right now in the market? Feedback from customers, or what we could be doing to improve sales or to improve profitability at the dealership level?
Yeah, I think, right now, and Jim, we finance class 1 to 8. So we're in every segment in the market as far as commercial equipment goes. And so we see pockets of really good times and then pockets of really difficult times. If anything that you're doing is tied to the freight market, it's been a tough run. If you're more of a private services company, then it hasn't been bad. In fact, in some cases, it's been great. If you're operating vocational equipment, then right now it's a pretty good time because you still have all those dollars available, and vocational equipment is selling. When I talk about vocational equipment, I'm talking about more Class 8 with body type equipment, and so there's pockets of experience going on right now. What we encourage our customers to do, our dealers to do for their customers, is to get a story. Because in some cases, credit has maybe suffered a little bit in a particular customer of a dealer's, but If the dealer can tell us why and what is happening now to make it better, it's very difficult to have those conversations every single day on every single deal. But that's one of the ideas that we talk to our dealers about is, help us help you. I mean, they know who we are and where we focus. And so they're pretty good at sending us the kind of transactions that we can do. I would just say to the dealer, know your customer. Know them as well as you possibly can, and then when the opportunity presents itself to have a conversation with us about that customer, we'd love to know more. We'd love to know more. Access to credit right now is not horrible. Again, it depends on the pockets that you're serving, but you've seen liquidity shrink over the last couple of years in a number of ways. You've seen some consolidation. My company is an example of that. And with consolidation comes, systems integrations, and we're not the only one dealing with that right now. So I would express to the dealers, in those kind of situations, make sure that you're being a strong partner to your lender, and not just the other way around, not just the lender to the dealer. Because if we're in a strong partnership, there's a lot of communication that's going on there, and we can help. We can do things that will help dealers sell more equipment, and we certainly want to be doing that every single day.
Do you provide specific training for your customers?
We do. We have not done it lately, but we have done it a lot in the past. And the reason we haven't done it as much lately is because we're integrating these systems and we're creating a much better front end experience for our dealers. But that takes time. But inside of that better experience for our dealers, yes, we provide training on how to access, our products and programs through that portal. And that's one way that we're trying to be helpful and train our dealers how to use our system and the products that are in it. So our salespeople are, front and center with dealers every day, walking into dealerships, talking them through issues, training them on our products and services, and it makes a big difference.
So here's another question from the audience for you. Now that the rates have come down, are you seeing an improvement in business? Are you getting a shot at customers that you didn't have a shot at before? What's the result?
That's a great question, and the answer to that is yes. I mean, we're an independent lender. We're not a bank, so we don't borrow our money from the discount window. But yeah, the answer is yes. We've certainly helped us in the market with like Super A and A credits. We've never seen a credit distribution quite like the one we're seeing today, in terms of highly leveraged to the Super A and A credits and Bs. We certainly can finance people with lower credit worthiness, but we're just not seeing as much of that today.
Interesting. Jennifer, I can come back to you with a question, a similar kind of a question about your outlook. And where do you see next year versus this year in terms of your volume growth? And will you be adding dealers or adding your business elite dealers? Or are you at the point now where you're going to just be working with the existing dealer body you have? There was a question about the number of dealers that will be selling your evolved products.
So the Chevrolet Bright Drop that's self-selected in by Chevrolet dealers. There's certain criteria that they have to meet. Obviously, you have to have a door that's large enough so that the Bright Drop can come through, and a lift with a wide arms that can lift that vehicle. So not every Chevrolet dealer is opting into that. There's just certain requirements that they do. We would like to have as many as possible in selling Bright Drop units. Our Business Elite Network, which is comprised of Chevrolet and GMC dealers, I think that we're going to be strengthening the criteria for enrollment because our dealers have asked for that. Our commercially focused dealers always want the best of the best, in the commercial space, because I think it makes them better, but I think it holds, it keeps a customer promise to really meet the needs of commercial customers by having dealers with a Business Elite name that really are doing all the things that a very commercially focused dealer should do, whether it's early service hours, whether it's having on the road salespeople, making sure you have the right product stocked, etc. So we feel we have a really good opportunity, to keep our network strong. So that's what we're always trying to do, is keep our dealer network strong and focused on this space. Outlook for next year, we really we feel like there's a really good outlook for 2025. I think you've seen us get out of the product constraints that we've had in the production capacity. So I think we finally are kind of free for a free flow kind of opportunity. Plus we have our we're having new entrants into EV. So I think there's a real opportunity for growth for ICE and EV next year as we go in to 2025, and we're very optimistic about next year. We think that there's a lot of growth opportunities for our dealers. Once they start to, I think our dealers have a real big opportunity to get into the data piece with OnStar and connected data that's coming off the vehicle to help customers manage their fleets. So we want to make sure our dealers are looking at that as an opportunity because, again, customers are demanding it. And also it's actually coming with the vehicle right now. You have certain data and insights that when you purchase a vehicle, we'll provide that to you. So we want to make sure our dealers are really working towards that because especially with EVs, but on ICE vehicles, the data that's coming from the vehicles can help a customer really manage their fleet, keep them on the road, keep their drivers safe, keep their assets safe, but just be more efficient in how they do business. So I think looking at those opportunities beyond the vehicle is going to be really critical for 2025 for growth.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really the key, Jennifer. And we one question that did come up, and that is that from a perspective of your vehicles, are you going to be making product development improvements on range? And do you see how long is it going to take for the improvement in the battery technology, or do you feel that you're now at a competitive advantage versus the others?
I would say we are probably better than all the others from an OEM perspective on range. Our Silverado EV 400 mod, customers are getting 460 miles of range on one charge. So,
Wow.
It's just, everything depends on how you drive, where you drive. So it really is just dependent on, I think our customers from the beginning, they kind of want range more than they actually need, but that's just a comfort level, right? That's just a comfort level. But I believe most of our products, you can go from anywhere, like the Bright Drops can get, 240 to 280 miles of range. Our other products are 300 plus miles of range. So from a business standpoint, I think the average daily mileage for service vehicles is only 40 miles a day. So
Wow.
we've got the products and we've got the range. And I do feel as customers start to drive electric vehicles and their range anxiety will go down because they think they need all that extra range when they really don't.
Yeah.
So
I remember during the gas crisis, everybody wanted to have a full tank.
Yeah,
Fuel.
same thing.
That's what caused the gas crisis in reality. Well, and also the telematics and all of the other advantages that you have with your product. That's the future. And as Tony mentioned in the first session, it's not a question of when or if, it's really how and when. not if and when. It's going to happen. And you are at the very leading edge of transformation in our industry. And I sure appreciate what you're doing. And I'm enthused, having a chance to meet you. I'm enthused about the potential for GM. I know now why GM stock went up last week. You had a bit to do with that. And
oh, I'd love to say that was all me, but no, we've got a great company. So
yeah, and it's great for Kirk. Thank you for your participation. You're also
Glad to be here.
Of bundling and developing new processes and new products to meet this period of ZAS, where everything and anything can be a service. We need you to finance that. And Mark, from your standpoint, thank you for your time. We look forward to your keeping track of all this as we go forward, and perhaps next time we talk, we can get into a little more of the forecasts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My impression of this, of what we want for dealers and what we want from them, it's for us to all integrate our process in an ecosystem and work as one entity from beginning to end for the customer, and not just the customer's needs, but the customer's success. And so I really appreciate the outcome of our time together, and I wish everyone in the audience a great day. We're going to have a lot more with Work Truck Solutions. And thank you again, Catherine, for giving us the opportunity.